Hey guys, it's Ornlu, and it has actually been 3 months since I've made a tier list, so it's high time I do another one. And this is going to be, as the title and up there says, it's going to be about civilizations' economies. I did make a video on this 2 years ago, actually a little more than 2 years ago, but this is sort of a topic that I've been talking about a lot on stream recently, so I thought it would be nice to cover in this more standardized setting. And yeah, obviously a lot's changed in the last 2 years, so let's just go ahead and dive right in. S tier civs, obviously those are going to be the very best civs economically in the game. Civs whose economic strength is so powerful that you need to, if you're facing them, you need to sort of adapt your game plan to the fact that their eco is going to be better than yours. A tier civs are just sort of like the good economy civs that you know that you're just going to be working with a solid eco boost throughout a game. B tier civs, okay eco. You're not likely going to fall far behind, but you're not likely going to be able to get ahead with economy. C tier civs are the civs that technically have eco bonuses, but they're usually very minor, and there's only a couple of D tier civs that have no real eco bonus. And I guess I should explain what is an eco bonus in this context. And I would say it's anything that helps you in the Dark Age, pretty much any sort of Dark Age boost. And then, does it help you boom? Does it help you get to a fast castle age? Does it help you grow your resource intake? Or does it let you do that more cheaply or faster or something like that? I would not consider unit discounts to be an eco bonus simply because that doesn't help you grow your economy. It just saves you resources when going for a specific military strategy. In general, there is like a couple exceptions, but that's just the parameters I'm framing for this video because you can quickly fall down the rabbit hole of, well, this technically saves you resources, so it's an eco bonus, which I don't think, like Magyar free forging and stuff like that, that's not an eco bonus. It doesn't help your economy. It doesn't grow your economy at all. It's like, if that's an eco bonus, then like 90% of the bonuses in the game are an eco bonus. So we're just going to try and use a bit of a more narrow definition. And yeah, let's just get right into it, finally. Aztecs, starting things off, going to be in a solid A tier. These guys used to be like borderline S tier economically back when they had free loom and the 5 extra carry capacity. Now it's only +3. You do start with 50 extra gold, which can be nice on a fast castle map where you don't need to get loom. You just need to make like a few trips with your gold miners and then you're good to go. But in general, their farming isn't as good as it used to be. It's still a very strong civ economically, and throughout the course of a game, it is the best eco of the 3 American civs, but it's not quite as good as it used to be. Bengali is going to be in the A tier as well. Of course, the main eco strength of this civ is going to come from the 2 extra villagers they get from each of their TCs with each age up, plus Mahayana to help you out in the late game, having your villagers cost less population space. So you have like an early game-ish boost and a late game boost, and it's really good. Like, Bengalis are a strong civ economically, but it still takes time for like the 2 extra villagers you get in Feudal Age or even the 4 extra vills you get on your way up to, if you go for a fast castle. It takes a bit for that to pay off, especially against some of the civs that are like faster and getting their extra eco bonuses rolling. So I don't think Bengalis are like quite top tier, but they're definitely a very strong A tier eco civ contender. Like, they have a good eco throughout the entire game, which is nice, especially for civ with lots of expensive units. Berber is going to be going in the C tier. The only thing that can count possibly as an eco bonus is the faster moving villagers, which does help you out a little bit. You may think it helps out your farmers a lot. It does not. It's like a 2.5% increase to your farming rate. It's really not that big. Carry capacity matters a lot more as a farming bonus than movement speed. That's why the Aztec bonus is a good farming bonus, and the Berber one, it's more of a utility bonus, like defensive utility bonus. Also, it is only 5% in Dark Age, which isn't as fun anymore. The faster moving fishing ships and trade cogs are also technically eco bonuses, but again, it's more of a minor thing. So yeah, it's technically an eco bonus, but not much of one. Bohemians, despite what Hera says, we're going to put them in the B tier. Hera did a top 5 eco civs video like a few weeks ago. I'll link that in the comments or description, that one. But Bohemians, it's a nice civ economically. It's decent. You have the cheaper blacksmiths and universities. You get the free mining upgrades, all 4 of them. Now, that is good, but it doesn't help you really expand your economy. Oh yeah, also your villagers benefit from fervor, which is nice, but like the Berber bonus, it doesn't help out your farming as much as you might think. If the Bohemian eco was so strong, let me phrase it like this, you would think that they would be a good Arabia civ. They have, because there are civs like Vikings that normally they wouldn't logically be a good Arabia civ. They don't have a great tech tree and they don't have good mobility options, but their economy is so powerful that it just doesn't matter. And of course, Vikings are a totally fine Arabia civ. Bohemians don't have that luxury. It's still a little slow, and although your faster working gold miners is nice and helping you churn out maybe some army faster, and it's good for like the clownish low eco plays, it's not really enough to put you over the top economically. If you're playing Arena, where Bohemians shine, you don't pick Bohemians on Arena because their boom is insane. You pick it because Halb Hofnitsa kills like everything in the game, plus hand cannons. You pick them for their army composition, and not necessarily their economy, especially relative to the better civs that are in the game as far as booming goes. So I do think that they're a perfectly fine B tier, as they have a bunch of nice bonuses that can sort of add up over time, but I don't think they're anything higher than B tier. Britain's going to be in the A tier. Britain's, it's just always been super solid economically. In the early game, you have the 25% faster working shepherds. You just get more food faster. Any sort of food bonus in Dark Age is going to be really good. And then you have the cheaper town centers in the Castle Age, which can allow you to just grow your eco super quickly. Just get all those TCs down, pump out villagers as much as possible. And unlike a lot of other Archer civs, you can play them in a more high eco approach quite effectively, whereas most Archer civs tend to be more low eco because Archers are cheap. But yeah, Britons could do that quite nicely. Strong A tier, I don't think that's going to be too controversial. Bulgarians, C tier, your only eco bonus is that your town centers cost 50 less stone, which is nice. You can add 4 extra TCs without having to mine any stone, but beyond that, it's just there are better civs out there economically. It's like the worst version of the Britons bonus. Town centers aren't that stone expensive, and you don't add that many of them, at least all at once. So yeah, I mean, it's like nice to have, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. Burgundians, despite their nerfs, still an S tier eco civ, and I would say they're probably the third best civ economically in AoE2. You have the cheaper eco upgrades on the food cost that are available in Age earlier. Also, you have Burgundian vineyards to generate gold while you farm, and you have relics that generate food while they generate gold. So that's like 4 eco bonuses in one. Yeah, Burgundian's just insane economically. You can play them really passively on open maps that we see a lot at the high level. Just palisade yourself in, get those early eco upgrades, drop a castle, make some Coustier, grab some relics, and then you're on your way. And what's great about Burgundians is that you have an amazing eco throughout the entire game, right? The early eco upgrades with the discount, you get that early boost over your opponent because getting double bit axe at like 15 pop is just like good. Getting farms with Horse Collar in Dark Age, with heavy plow in Feudal Age, like that's all really good. But even as you progress through the game with the relic bonus and with Burgundian vineyards, you actually have that really strong economic presence throughout like a 2-hour game, which is not something that a lot of civs can boast. So Burgundians, definitely one of the key selling points of the civ is their economy. Burmese, I would say a solid B tier, reasonably high B tier at that. Burmese, you just have the free wood upgrades. That's it. But hey, free wood upgrades are nice. It means you can get that little bit of extra food income as quickly as possible. You can almost always afford Horse Collar, which is nice. And it's just a nice bit of wood savings throughout, the game. But still, in terms of resources saved, it's not that much. The wood upgrades aren't that expensive. And at the end of the day, as soon as your opponent researches the wood upgrades themselves, you have no more eco bonus. Maybe in a very loose sense of eco bonus, you could say that seeing where the relics are on the map is an eco bonus, but I think that's really pushing it. I think B tier is fine. Byzantines, D tier. One day, the Fast Imp Guild's play will be a top tier eco move, but beyond that, Byzantines don't have an eco bonus. Cheaper trash units does not help you grow your economy, and it doesn't help you go for anything that isn't a trash-based strategy, which are really great with Byzantines. Like, military unit discount bonuses are usually some of the better bonuses in the game, but I just don't think, especially for the purposes of what we're talking about in this video, that doesn't quite fit the bill. Kilts, A tier. I kind of think of this as a slightly better, more flexible version of the Burmese bonus, as you get the faster working lumberjacks as soon as the game starts. So you can build up that economy in Dark Age, and any bonus you get in the Dark Age is really good because it just helps you get to those more important power spikes a little bit faster. And you can get the eco upgrades on top of it, right? You don't have two-man saw, but you can get double bit axe and bow saw at the same time that everyone else does. So instead of having, just the 20% faster working lumberjacks as soon as you hit feudal age as Burmese, you are getting 35% faster working lumberjacks once you research double bit axe. So there's maybe a small timing where the Burmese savings are a bit more, but I think in general the Celts bonus is going to be more solid throughout the game. And also it does help you throughout the entirety of the game. It's only 5% more in post-imp compared to a Civ with two-man saw, but it's still nice. Chinese. This is tricky because they did just get nerfed recently. I'm still going to put them in the S tier, but with the caveat that it's a little bit complicated now. If Chinese can get off to their good start, it is still an incredibly strong Civ economically throughout the early to mid-game. Getting the extra villagers does offset the fewer resources you start with in a lot of cases. It doesn't help you as much once you get to mid-castle age, but that's when the tech discount really comes into play. It is only 5, 10, 15% in feudal through imperial age now, but it's still something. Your farms give you extra food, 10% more, and your town centers even give you a little bit of extra housing space, which does matter in early castle age when you're dropping TCs. Just getting that little bit of extra wood savings is handy. Is it quite as good as it used to be? No, but I still think it's solid enough to be S tier on any standard map. But you also have to consider that in any sort of map where you have fish under your TC, hunt readily available right next to your TC like an enclosed, or if you are playing Regicide Fortress, which is a really popular setting, Chinese immediately become tippy top S tier. So I think that if it's basically S tier on regular land maps, and there are a few maps that are played commonly in tournaments that are, they just shoot to the very top, I think totally fine putting them in S tier. Cumans, S tier. And I would make the argument that Cumans have the single best economy in the game of any Civ, except maybe one that we'll get to later. I think you kind of flip the two. No Civ makes you bend your game plan like Cumans in terms of, okay, I'm up against Cumans. I literally need to go all in or do some sort of crazy greedy play myself, or I'm just going to die. And we see that happen a lot in tournaments where people are struggling to punish the Cuman boom as players are just getting better and better at defending it. But that second TC in Feudal Age just gets you so many more resources so much faster that it is actually oppressive in a ton of different situations. And there's only one other Civ I think that can really match that. And what can be said is that the Cuman bonus, it's only a timing bonus. It doesn't help you throughout the entire game. Once your opponents catch up in villagers, humans don't have an eco bonus at that point, and they also have a bad tech tree. That said, that timing window when you just have so many more resources than your opponent is enough to completely swing game after game after game after game. Obviously, it's conditional. You can't get away with it every time, but I think players can get away with it consistently enough in enough different settings that it's easily one of, if not the best eco bonuses. Dravidians, gonna be putting them in the C tier. It would be a high C tier. It's definitely a better bonus than the extra wood, by the way. And if you're looking more at water maps, I guess I'm not really talking about water that much. If we're talking water maps, then you're jumping up to B or even A tier because you have the extra housing space from the docks, which is super good early on, and the fishing ships that have longer carry or more carry capacity, which again, it's great. But mostly I'm thinking about the extra 200 wood that you're getting when you age up. It can help you drop a TC in Castle Age. It can help you drop an archery range quickly in Feudal Age. It's a nice, quick bonus, but beyond that, you don't have any eco bonus. Dravidians are much more of a military-focused Civ in general. Yeah, it's going to be tricky when we were factoring in the water bonuses because obviously they're very situational, as water maps aren't super popular. But yeah, just think that if we're looking at high B tier, low A tier on water maps and C tier on land maps. So this is generally land maps, so let's put that in C tier. Ethiopians, same exact deal. An extra 100 wood, food and gold. when you reach the next stage. It can be really nice. It also means that if you're playing an FC map where you don't need to get Lumen Feudal Age, like an Arena, sometimes Black Forest, that sort of thing, you don't need to gather any gold whatsoever, because what happens is you start with 100 gold, you'll hit Feudal Age, and then you'll have the 200 gold needed for Castle Age, and then when you hit Castle Age, you'll have 100 more gold, so you can even afford a monk. So that leads to a very smooth early game plan, but that's kind of it. Ethiopians can't really keep up economically with a lot of the other top civs. I mean, I would put them on the higher end of C tier. I mean, I'm not ranking these civs within the tiers because I think that becomes really tricky. Or am I? Should I? Am I that crazy? You know what? I didn't do this in my my practice list that I made, or the list I made ahead of time. But you know what? Let's go absolutely wild, guys. Yeah, let's do that for now. Franks. You still have faster working foragers, and you have the free farm upgrades. That's a double bonus, and that is going to be enough to put them in A tier. Don't think they're going to be better than Celts, which is just going to be more consistent throughout a game, but still, kind of like Burmese, you can usually get the other eco upgrade, in this case, double bit axe, bow saw, quite easily, and then the foragers just give you a really smooth early game. Franks, totally fine civ economically, not really pushing the upper tiers, but a strong eco is part of why Franks are a great civ. Goths. So, with Goths, I do think that you have the... Okay, so you have the bonus that you get Loom instantly. So you can get a Villa Head when your opponents click up to Feudal Age on maps where you get Loom and Dark Age, which is like most maps. And you now have the longer lasting Hunt. And I do think that's good enough to put Goths in B tier. It's hard to say, like on maps with a ton of Hunt, yes, you could argue higher for them. But if we're talking about most standard maps, the longer lasting Hunt is really nice, but it's not anything that's going to help you beyond the early game. Same with Loom, you can kind of get a villager ahead that way. Yeah, I think like there in B tier is fine for now. Wouldn't really put them any higher though. Gujurs, kind of a weird one. Probably around as good as Aztecs. Let's bump them up a little bit above Aztecs. So in the early game, you can garrison your sheep in your mills, which is basically an extra food gatherer from the beginning of the game. So you're using all of your sheep at once, basically. Then it kind of peters off for the mid game. But then once you get Kshatriyas in late Castle Age, I know I say military discounts don't really make for eco bonuses, but that is such a huge discount for almost everything that you do as a civ. So that won't apply basically on water maps, or if you're going for mostly siege that aren't your armored elephants. So I am going to break my own rules and put that as an eco bonus, because it really does make a big impact in the late game. With like, it's almost impossible to find a strategy that you do with Gujurs that doesn't involve making a lot of food units. So for that reason, I am going to be putting them in A tier quite solidly. If you don't want to include Kshatriyas at all, maybe you bump them down to like low A tier, high B tier, because they do have a very smooth early game if you get the trickiness down. But, you know, this is my video. I do what I want. Gosh darn it. Hindustanis. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. You do get your 5... 10, 15, 20% cheaper villagers throughout the game, and you also have Grand Trunk Road, which improves your gold economy, and you even have the Caravanserai to help you out in team games. Oh yeah, Aztecs also have the extra gold from relics. I totally forgot about that. They have that. Anyway, you do have a nice slew of bonuses as Hindustanis. They don't have the overwhelming economic presence that they used to, but it's still, I think, plenty solid enough to be a respectable A tier. Yeah, I think right here on the list is totally fine for the Civ. Extra gold income, potentially. Great trade bonus in the late game. And then, of course, the main one is your cheaper villagers. It's not that big of a bonus, but it is quite nice. Huns. It's still a little bit better than Goths. Is it better than Burmese? From an economy standpoint, yeah, I think it is. Okay, we'll put Huns right there. So your only eco bonus is that obviously you don't need to build houses, but you start with minus 100 wood. I mean, on Nomad maps, it is absolutely awful because you can't make a dock right away. So that aside, Huns are otherwise like really like smooth to play, not needing to build houses. It's the wood savings, it's the villager time savings, and it's just the convenience factor. You don't need to relegate the brain power in APM. to build houses. So all of that is quite nice, but we have a lot of civs with very strong economies right now, and Huns are not really going to be, I think, any higher than high B tier. Obviously, missing houses does create an issue in a lot of cases where you don't have houses to wall with, so Huns are not a great defensive civ, but that's not really what I'm looking at here. I'm looking more just... I'm trying to be as laser focused on the economy side of things as much as possible. Incas! I think we're going to put them maybe right behind Bohemians. Again, you have the food discount. Incas are less likely to be making food-heavy armies than are Gujurs, and their units just cost less food in general, but it is still enough that, like, I feel like you kind of have to count it because it's just such an incredibly broad bonus. But beyond that, you still have the extra llama that you get for your entire team now, and the houses that give you extra housing space, and even the buildings that cost less stone. So you have several very solid bonuses scattered in there. I think definitely up there with Bohemians for, like, high B tier, but I don't think you can really punch into the A tier with that sort of bonuses. You just don't really get the raw booming power or the savings that some other civs do. It can be tricky because it is very smooth to play Incas, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that you have like an okay eco and your armies are super cheap. So that does help. Can we bring them into low A tier? It is really smooth to play Incas, but are they like great at booming? Not really. I mean, like, they're fine. It's more suited to aggressive maps. It's really tricky. Yeah, I think I might even put them ahead of Bohemians. If you really want to put them in A tier and you feel strongly about that, I'm not going to say you're crazy, but yeah, don't really think a whole lot else. Definitely not any higher than that. Not as good as Nico's Aztecs, like in a vacuum. Italians. In a similar vein to Ethiopians and Dravidians, you have the cheaper age up. I mean, if we're talking about water maps more, we're jumping up to like B tier, A tier. I'm going to put them at the top. I also think Ethiopians are better than Dravidians. The Dravidians are better on water. Factoring water at least a little bit, I think Italians are like not the worst civ in the world. You do have the cheaper age up to help you on any map. But beyond that, it's not really anything that crazy. You can maybe click up to Castle Age of Villager faster or something like that. Feudal Age a little bit faster. Not the biggest deal in the world. In a similar vein, Japanese. This is kind of interesting because you have a ton of great savings in the early game with the half-cost drop-off sites. And you have the super fishing ships. So if you're fish booming, then they're amazing. If you're not, then it really peters off after the early game. Let's go ahead and put Japanese right ahead of Italians. I think we'll do that. It's pretty close. Like, these guys are definitely like pushing B tier, especially the more you consider water maps, but I think that's okay. Khmer, S tier. Gonna be putting them right behind Burgundians. One of the best economies in the game easily. You don't need the buildings to unlock other buildings. This gives you a super smooth early game, just tons and tons of savings, whether it be on aggressive maps where skipping the barracks is super helpful, to being able to skip the market to go for a fast castle on something like Nomad, to in an arena style, okay, let's just not build any buildings that we don't need to and just click up to Castle Age on 23 pop and then boom. It is such a flexible bonus in the early game. And then on as the game goes on, you have your farmers really kick in that are just immediately dropping off food for you constantly. Those two bonuses are both very powerful, and then when put together, you get one of the best civs economically in the game. I'd probably put them maybe like at 4 or something behind Burgundians. Super, super good. Koreans! You do have the free mining upgrades. All right, next is going to be the Koreans, and they have the faster working stone miners, which is technically an eco bonus, although not much of one. But now they have the wood discount on all of their units, which, again, it's unit discounts I don't normally say are eco bonuses, but it's such an incredibly broad one. Although, it doesn't include siege units. I'm still going to put them behind Ethiopians. It gets really tricky. But yeah, I think that the wood bonus is at least a little bit more narrow than Incas and Gujurs. So yeah, I think there's fine. Koreans are not a civ you play for their economy. You play for their really efficient armies and fantastic late game. Lithuanians. I think right there might be fine. Better than Huns? Maybe not. around as good as Burmese. So Lithuanians, you start with 100 extra food and you get 100 more food whenever you place an additional town center. This does help you boom. It helps you get off to a good fast start on basically any map, and it's just a good solid all-around bonus. It's not usually going to win you games. They don't have the extra 150 food anymore, so they're not as potent on hybrid maps, but still, you can send villagers to wood early on and get early fishing ships out that way. So it is still a relevant bonus in that sort of situation, and getting an extra 100 food when you build a TC means you can queue up 2 villagers instantly. So that's quite nice for sure. Mid B tier, I think, is perfectly fine for the Civ. Magyars, D tier. They don't have an eco bonus. But Ornlu, they have cheaper scouts. Okay, that doesn't help you unless you're scout rushing. And there are, unfortunately for Magyars, many situations where you don't want to scout rush. Same goes for free forging, like I alluded to earlier. That is a narrow enough unit discount that I can be okay not including it. I mean, it's just one specific type of unit. You play Magyars because they're super strong aggressively with their armies, and they have an insane late game with Magyar Hussars and Cav Archers. But booming in high eco sorts of situations is not their strength. Malay! S tier, gonna be, I think, between Khmer and Chinese. You get 2 extra villagers, basically, when you reach Feudal Age because of the faster age up, another almost 3 villagers when you hit Castle Age, and you have an insane fish boom with the discounted fish traps that last basically forever. So on land maps, you have one of the best ecos in the game. On water maps, it's just as good, if not even slightly better. Like full fish boom maps like BF, they are one of the very best civs out there. Malay, super, super strong economically. I don't think there's really a whole lot you could say against that. There are civs that are a little bit better because it is kind of timing based, unless you're using fish traps, but it's certainly a good enough bonus to get you pretty far ahead. It's kind of like Bengalis, except the extra villagers come in, relatively speaking, you can get maybe even a little bit more of them a little bit faster, and then you also have the fish trap aspect of it. So I do think that they are a bit better than Bengalis, but we're kind of talking a lower S tier civ versus a high A tier civ. So the difference isn't super huge between these two. You get extra villagers. Malians, I think I might put them right behind Bengalis. Maybe you could argue they were borderline S tier before they got nerfed. With the more efficient gold miners, it used to be 15%, now it's only 10%. But you also have the wood discount on buildings, which is amazing on nomad start maps or hybrid maps where you can get fishing ships out faster than your opponent. Super, super powerful in that situation. You just get extra gold relative to your opponent. You also get more gold overall, which is really helpful. And having a strong wood bonus and a strong gold bonus it gives you so much flexibility in what you can do, and that's one of the reasons that Malians are such a potent civ in a variety of settings, is the broad tech tree and the strong economy. Kind of like Chinese, but Malians are more aggressively oriented. I don't quite think it's S tier anymore, though. Mayans, maybe right there. That's a pretty good spot for them. I mean, if you'd argue, no, Celts are better than Mayans, Ornlu, or Celts are worse than Mayans, Franks are better than Mayans, okay, fine. This is just delineating between the tiers a little bit. You get an extra vill at the start of the game at the cost of 50 food. That's still a nice bonus, helps you out just getting more resources faster. And of course, the big one is the longer lasting resources. Super strong bonus in the early game with all of your early food sources lasting longer. It does help you in the late game as well, as you get more resources overall to play with. So you have a strong early bonus and a strong late bonus. There isn't a whole lot going for you in the mid game though, so it's not as overbearing as some other civs, but I think that it just helps you out faster in so many more cases. That said, it's not as much of a booming bonus as Aztecs are, so is Aztec Eco maybe even a little bit better? Now I'm doubting myself, because Aztecs also have the relic bonus too. Maybe I was underselling Aztecs a little bit. Aztecs Eco is still really good. Maybe just a tad better. All of these civs are pretty close. This is what happens when I try and order stuff within tiers. I will change my mind 50 times. Mongols going to be, get that, high B tier. Obviously on maps where there's a ton of hunt, they jump up to S tier. I don't think that's too surprising. You can get a quick feudal age really, really nicely. You can go for super fast castle age as well, which is nice. But beyond that, they don't have anything. It's a civ that you have a very fast opening and amazing late game. Not really a whole lot in between. Is it even worse than like Lithuanians? Maybe. And it depends on the map a little bit as well. Like maps with like fast uptime being important can matter a lot, but it certainly isn't enough to do you any favors on closed maps. I don't know, maybe a little bit lower in B tier. I like Mongols a lot, but maybe not any higher than that. Persians. Either the top of B tier or the bottom of A tier. I'm not super sold on Persians these days. Okay, no, actually, because of the strength on hybrid maps, we'll put them in A tier. Maps where you can get a fishing ship out right away is really powerful for the Persians, and you can get a big eco lead that way, and that is why they are picked in a lot of very aggressive maps, hybrid maps as well as nomad-style maps, because you can get that fishing ship out. And then, of course, you have the faster-working TCs that help you progressively throughout the game, but not in Dark Age, just more in Feudal, Castle, and Imperial Age. Now, this also becomes more difficult to support villager production from all of those TCs, so it's not necessarily like as good as you may think, but it is still a bonus for sure. It does help you gather more resources faster, and Persians have a very expensive army, so that is quite nice, and especially because of the strength on like early aggressive water / hybrid maps, I think Persians certainly can scooch into the A tier. All right, Poles. This is the civ that I can go back and forth all day between humans and Poles as the best civ economically in AoE2. Let's put Poles at number 1. Poles, I guess, technically only have 2 eco bonuses, the gold that's generated from stone miners, and of course, the Folvark. Like humans, Poles can bend your entire opponent's game plan based around the fact that you can just sit on your butt, like close yourself off in a small little area, and then get to your Folvark farms, and then you can get Schlachta privileges, which I'm not including as part of this, by the way. Still, even without like Schlachta privileges, the eco aspect of Poles is absolutely crazy. It has to be conditional with the Folvarks, which is why it's like even remotely balanced, but it gives you a fantastic economy from Dark Age all the way through post-Imperial Age, like Burgundians, like Khmer, which is incredibly powerful. So I really like Pole Eco for that reason. It's possibly the single best economy in the game. You can just get so many more resources than your opponent that you just flatten them in so many situations. Again, like even without Schlachta privileges, you can just kill them with so many units. So yeah, Pole's absolutely top tier economically. Portuguese. This one, maybe top of, maybe below Incas. Let's put them below Incas. It's very close between like these 3 civs especially. So Portuguese, you do have the wood that you get from foragers, so you have a very smooth early game now. You have the gold discount on all your units, which again, it is a unit discount, but it is so broadly applicable that I kind of have to count it a little bit. And then of course you have the Faderia, which I do count as an eco bonus, as it just gives you resources over time for free. Which is obviously helpful in a fast imp scenario and in the super late game. So you have like these little bonuses that can help you throughout a game, and then a really broad tech tree and some strong units. So like Portuguese are one of the most well-rounded civs in all of AoE2 right now. They're good on every single setting basically, but their eco is like good, but I don't think a major factor as to why the civ is like shining so much. But they are still very smooth to play. And they have the faster researching tax as well. So you know what? Let's bump them over Incas. So yeah, so you have a lot of little bonuses going for you that can add up to like a pretty solid civ economically. Saracens. This civ is so hard to place economically. You have the market bonus, which is it. You have the cheaper markets and the market trade being better. This bonus is somewhere between the bottom of C tier and like, low S tier. It all depends on how you can use the market. Can you leverage it for fast castle age timing which, like, if you're trying to use your eco bonus to get to castle age quickly for an attack, if you're trying to use it to boom, you can do all of that. It helps in a super long game as you're just getting more efficient, trades at the market. I'm going to put Saracens right there, but they can go in so many different places depending on how the market can be utilized, which I don't think any player in the world has really come to leverage the Saracen market as much as it can be used. It's just very tricky. Sicilians, another like decent B tier civ. Sicilian eco is pretty good. You have the farms that can last a very long time as you benefit more than double from all of the farm upgrades, and you have the TCs that build 100% faster. So it doesn't help you a ton in the early game, but as far as like mid to late game, You do have a very strong eco. Also, you have an extra 100 stone, which you can even use to sell at the market to get a bit of a better castle age time, or you can just plop down up to 4 TCs without, or 3 extra TCs without needing to mine any stone. So you actually kind of have 3 eco bonuses. None of them really are like over the top great, but they are quite solid across the board. So yeah, Sicilian's pretty good eco in general. They're not the most exciting civ in the world, but having a bad eco is not really the reason why. Although it is a bit slower to start compared to some civs, so it's not like any higher than like mid to high B tier. Slavs, you have technically 2 bonuses, the main one being the farming bonus, and the other one being military buildings giving you 5 hop space, and like a house. Low A tier seems fine. Like the farming bonus, it's a little slow to start off, but then it will help you more and more and more over the course of a game until it's really good once you have a bunch of farms going. But it isn't as fast acting as the Khmer bonus, as the Khmer bonus just gives you more food quickly, and it helps in like low farm number situations. You can also build farms without a mill, which is nice in some situations as well. Whereas Slavs, it's much more of a gradual process, and Khmer also have other bonuses as well to help them out. So yeah, I think low A tier is fine for the civ. Also, Datinets, is that an eco bonus? I don't know. You're technically getting more castles for stone mined. No, it's probably not an eco bonus. That's why I said, like, it's really hard to draw the line of where an eco bonus like ends and like a military and defensive bonus begins in AoE2. Spanish. It's tough. They're somewhere around here. Maybe you're there. You have the faster working builders, which does give you a small amount of time saved whenever you're building anything. Except your first TC on Nomad. That was changed a little while ago. Beyond that, you get a little bit of gold when you research technologies, which can lead to like some smoother plays. I mean, it's just free resources basically, so it definitely counts as an eco bonus. But you also have the trade bonus in team games, which is one of the most powerful like eco team bonuses. So maybe for that reason alone, we scooch them up to the bottom of B tier. It's like a C tier otherwise, but like in any sort of team game situation, you might just be able to scooch into B tier. If you don't value team games, then yeah, you knock them down to C tier. But if you do value team games, and I do think that team games are just as legitimate of a way to play AoE2 competitively as 1v1s, then okay, put Spanish right there. Tatars. Maybe just above Spanish, actually. Tatars aren't super economically focused. They're much more of like a military and timing civ. You have the longer lasting sheep and the TCs that spawn extra sheep, not including your first TC, so extra TCs after that. It can help you delay that farm transition. It is just extra food that you're getting. It's nice. It can help out, but Tatars are rarely having a huge eco bonus over most civs unless you're like playing a map with 10 million sheep on it. But that's not usually the case. Most maps don't have any more than 8 sheep or maybe like a little bit more per player. Yeah, it's a solid bonus, but not, I think, anything that is super, super exciting. It's just nice to have. Teutons, I think we can think about Teutons in a pretty similar way to the Slavs. I do like the fact that you can get the farms out more cheaply, which means you can... It's more of a front-loaded bonus than the Slavs, right? Because you just get those wood savings immediately when you want to place the farm, as opposed to just getting gradually more food over time. So you can make more farms with fewer villagers on wood, and if anyone's tried booming with Teutons knows, it is just a very, very smooth experience having all those wood savings. It is actually their only eco bonus, but it's a very powerful one, and enough to put them into a solid A tier. Turks. You have faster working gold miners, which is an eco bonus, but it's a very narrow one. Yeah, I'll put them right there, because like all of these bonuses can be used for really sick timings, and that can help you boom. But beyond that, it's like Turks, you just get more gold, which does help in like a fast imp scenario. You can have fewer miners gathering the resource to sustain your army, which it is, economically oriented, but it's tough, right? I don't think that the fantastically strong range units of Turks is why you play the Civ, right? It's not because of the eco. It's just the gold is a nice little boost on top. Vietnamese look so ugly. We're gonna have to change Civs, guys, just so we don't have the double wide tiers. Yeah, I would have said they were B tier before, but ever since they have the faster researching text as well, giving you wheelbarrow quite quickly, handcart quickly, and just getting all those other eco upgrades a little bit faster, and they don't cost wood. It's really nice. You see where your opponent's TC is, which can kind of count as an eco bonus because you can really reliably lure deer, unless you have like a map where you can't reliably lure deer, which happens sometimes, depending on the map as well. So I wouldn't say that's like a big eco bonus, or like a consistent one at least, but I will say that Vietnamese are still a very solid civ economically. Oh yeah, I should put them in A tier somewhere. It's definitely like faster and getting value than some of these civs, maybe right above Hindustanis. It's not like Vietnamese are still like a tippy top eco civ. Also, you have paper money to help you in the late game, which is not awful, by the way. It's like getting 2 extra relics in the late game, which is nice, as Vietnamese, their units tend to cost a lot of wood. Is it better than Slavs? Yes. Probably. Are Teutons better than Gujars? Also probably. This is why you don't want me ranking stuff, guys. I'm nowhere near consistent enough. Anyway, last but not least, we will have the Vikings. And I will be putting them right there at number 5. Vikings, they are a fantastic civ economically. They can have an eco that is strong enough to make a civ that is otherwise very unremarkable work in a lot of situations. That said, do they create this unstoppable like force in a game that the civs above them do? I don't really think so. Their boom is quite good, but it's all timing based, right? Poles, Burgundians, and Khmer all have amazing economies throughout the entirety of a game. Cumans are like Vikings, it's all timing based, but is the Viking eco as absolutely oppressive as the Cuman eco? No, not at all. It's more consistent, but nowhere near as strong. So yeah, I think putting Vikings in at number 5 is perfectly reasonable. So let's go ahead and take a look at this list. I think the S tier is fine. This is definitely just the S tier I had in my mind when I went into the video, and I think the ordering makes plenty of sense. A tier, I like Teuton eco more than Franks. Do I like it more than Mayans and Aztecs? It's like very close. I think putting them there is fine. Britons, are they too high? No, Britons are really smooth. Maybe like they don't have anything helping them out in the feudal age though. So maybe put Celts a little bit above them. Vietnamese over Gujars. Gujars are quite smooth in the early game. They really don't have anything going for them in the mid game though. And like if you don't want to count Kshatriyas at all, like Gujars are going to fall all the way down to B tier. It's tricky. Slavs, Hindustanis, Persians, I think all of that is fine. Portuguese, Incas, Bohemians, Sicilians, Huns, Lithuanians, Saracens, Mongols. Yeah, this seems fine to me. C tier. Again, like a lot of these civs you can reorganize based like within the tiers. That is all fine. And then Byzantines, Magyars. I mean, you can both these civs basically just have no eco bonus, so put them in whatever order you like. Are Berbers better than Bulgarians? Well, Bulgarians will maybe have a slightly better boom. I don't know. It doesn't matter that much. Hey guys, Ornlu from the future here, and it was only during editing the video did I realize I forgot a civ. Romans aren't part of the tier maker civ list for this, so you can see that with some incredibly great editing, I have placed Romans in the tier list right between Bengalis and Malians. Roman eco is super good, 5% faster everything, 5% faster gathering on all resources from all forms, and you build 5% faster and repair 5% faster. This just gives you a smooth little boost throughout the entirety of a game. It's not likely going to give you an overwhelming advantage in and of itself, but it is enough that you can get in a spot where you're ahead and then just stay ahead throughout a lot of a game. I think that as people are playing Romans more and more, they're realizing that this is a very strong tool that the Civ has at its disposal. It's not quite S tier, I think, but it is still very, very good. So high A tier for sure. That said, for realsies, now we are done with the tier list, so let me know what you guys think of this one in the comments. And of course, thank you all for watching. Special shout out to my Patreon supporters who helped make this all possible, with Anonymous and Tristan in the Great Wolf tier, and then Carolyn, Elvinor, Liquid Egg Product, Frairu, Tanduri, and Folder in the Direwolf tier. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.